It's a big win for the Edmonton Oilers, and they do it in a tight one against the LA Kings. How do you feel, Oil Country? A little bit more confident? I sure hope so. Welcome to the GCL Diesel Oil Stream post-game show. Tom Gazzola with you. Hernan Salas back at ESTHQ. Matt Cassian will be stopping by shortly, and we'll also get a visit from Reed Wilkins. GCL Diesel, of course, providers of the best diesel engine components around, from turbochargers to injectors, fuel pumps to sensors. They are the critical engine component experts, proud to serve Edmonton and Northern Alberta for over 50 years. Get in on the conversation. Text us 780-218-9999. Get into the nasty chat if you're watching on YouTube. But we'll get into the scoring summary shortly as well. That's an important win for the Orange and Blue. A little bit of separation from the Kings, and you get that win against them, maybe some confidence. And then, like I was saying on the pregame show, seemed like there were some Oiler fans out there that were genuinely worried about LA. Rightly so, I think. But maybe the fear is a little bit, I don't know, unnecessary might be the right word to use. But this is a good LA Kings team. This is 2 straight games that the Oilers have played against the Kings where it's only been a 1-goal difference. Of course, the game 2 weeks ago on the 28th of December went into OT after the Oilers blew a lead. Tonight, super tight, but it's Edmonton that gets the lone marker, Connor McDavid, on his birthday, and the Oil get the victory. Let's bring in Hernan Salas before we get to Matt Cassian. Nancito, what did you think of the way the Oilers played in this one tonight?
Yeah, I mean, this was a playoff-style game. It was good, man. I mean, the first period, not much to like from the Oilers. A lot of one-and-dones in the offensive zone for them, which was a little bit, concerning. But they were able to find their legs, I think, towards the end of that period. They got a couple good shifts there at the end. And then in the second and the third, it's just playoff hockey, man. 2 good teams going toe-to-toe, not a lot on either side, but the goaltending duo, Stuart Skinner was fantastic tonight. Interesting, Tommy. The Stuart Skinner and the Oilers need goaltending peeps are fairly quiet tonight. Stuart Skinner was outstanding. He made about 3-4 awesome, great saves. Kemper was equally as good. He just got beat on that 4-on-4 that Alex Laferriere takes a kind of a stupid penalty. Kapanen goes with him, but 4-on-4, the Oilers are pretty deadly when they have the dynamic duo of McDavid and Draisaitl out there. Power play, you know what, Tom? Sometimes you got to give credit to the other team as well. I thought the Oilers didn't handle the pressure of the Los Angeles Kings very well on the power play. And you saw kind of, I think in the last one too, he was like, okay, come off, second power play unit went on a lot quicker than we're used to seeing. But all in all, a good playoff type of game. These are the games the Oilers are going to be playing coming up here in months, so they got to get used to them, and I thought they did fairly well. I thought good performances. You know what I like, Tom? I like Colden, and I liked Arvidsson. How many scrums was Arvidsson in taking a slash or taking an extra shot? Those are the kind of players you want in the playoffs. Absolutely love it, and I love Clark trying to get rough with Colden there. Colden just takes him down. It's like, no, kid, who do you think you're grabbing here?
Good on Clark for trying,
Yeah, sure. Kudos to him, but good on the Oilers. That's an important 2 points. Like I said, I didn't love their first, and then you look at the other periods, I thought Oilers obviously a little bit better than the second. The third was good, just even. Not a lot of space out there, but all in all, Oiler fans should be happy, and Stuart Skinner, a fantastic game, and that's why he's today's first star down there at Rogers Place. Well-deserved, and I'm just glad it's going to be quiet on the goaltending front tonight, Tom.
Second shutout of the season for Stu Skinner. All right, Cass is just about ready to go. He has an early flight tomorrow, so we're going to get him in and out relatively quickly. I'm going to get to the turning point of the game before we go into the breakdown. The turning point of the game presented by Advantage Sports Medicine and Physiotherapy, where we treat you like the pros. Our multidisciplinary team includes sports medicine physicians, along with highly skilled physiotherapists, strength and conditioning coaches, and massage therapists. Whether you're recovering from an injury or looking to enhance performance, we treat you like a pro using the same locker room approach trusted by the best in the game. And the Advantage Sports Medicine and Physiotherapy turning point of the game is also the scoring summary at 18:37 of the second period. Connor McDavid pots home his 17th of the year on a rebound. Darnell Nurse with the shot. Draisaitl with the good hustle, winning the puck battle away from Trevor Moore. A bit of a turnover in the neutral zone for the Kings. Draisaitl, good work there. Nurse with the shot. McDavid buries the rebound. 1-0 Oilers. That is your Advantage Sports Medicine and Physiotherapy turning point of the game. Connor McDavid's 17th goal of the season. And I'll also note it was his 1,041st career point, and he does it on his 28th birthday. Only Wayne Gretzky and Mario Lemieux had more. Gretzky 1773, and Lemieux was at 1,174. Steve Yzerman was at 1,040 points when he turned 28. So a little tidbit there as we welcome in Matt Cassian, our game analyst for the breakdown, brought to you by South Fort Chev. Reserve your 2025 Equinox tracks and Traverse now. They won't last long. They've also got the best discounts on 2025 Silverados, and they won't be beat. See dealer for details, www.southfortchev.com. Matt Cassian, hello, sir. We know you have an early flight tomorrow, so we'll keep it neat and tidy. Reed's going to hop on later on as well. Hey, a win for the Oilers. Solid, mostly defensively. Stu Skinner, a big one in terms of performance. What stood out to you the most? And if I even indicated to you that that was a somewhat boring game, how would you respond?
Well, it was boring in terms of goals not being scored. It wasn't like there was all kinds of chances and breakaways both ways the whole game. Like there wasn't a lot of space out there. But it was a good, solid playoff hockey style game against a team that plays good, solid defense in the LA Kings. Things that stood out to me. Stuart Skinner's glove save might be his best one of the year. That was pretty awesome. It was a sweet save.
Great save. Pushing
across on a 2-on-1. That was huge. Big moment. Game's completely different if that goes in. Completely different. That was a big one for me. Hernan, you pointed it out. Also a big one for me was the Oilers' feistiness, and Arvidsson, I think more so than Podkolzin, because Podkolzin, we've kind of seen it. Like he's kind of been there and done that, but to see Arvidsson kind of play at that rat level a little bit again, like, and be all over it, that to me was a big part of this game, and a part of it that I really enjoyed. So yeah, it was boring in that there wasn't all kinds of crazy offense, but it was tight checking. After the first period, because the first period wasn't great, but after that, well executed by the Edmonton Oilers. And so it was a good hockey game. It doesn't matter if you win this one by 4 goals, or you win it by 1. Like you had the win, you had the lead, you get the win, you close distance on the Vegas Golden Knights, and you make up some ground on the LA Kings. It's a big, big win, fellas.
Great point there by Cass. All right, text us 780-218-9999. Let's get to the nasty chat as well. I like this text. Stu technically has 2 shutouts in his last 3 games. Yeah. Yes, referring to the team shutout in Boston. That was a good game by the Oilers Tuesday. And Hampton Steve says, good evening, gentlemen. I'm glad my pregame worries were for naught. Solid game after another slow start. Only critiques I have are that of the 6 odd man rushes, the Oilers maybe got 1 or 2 shots. Also, this team needs to learn to bury their empty net opportunities in order to lower my blood pressure watching these close games. The 2-on-1s and some looks in the offensive zone. And I'm glad Hampton Steve brought that up, because in the first period, they had looks at the net, guys, and they just looked them off and then didn't fire away. The 2-on-1s, I think there's 2 or 3 of them tonight, and they didn't even have a shot. Brown tries like the saucer pass, doesn't get over the body of the defender. I think Draisaitl had one, and there wasn't even a pass. And I don't know, guess if we're going to nitpick, that was a bit frustrating if you look at it from an Oilers fan point of view. Is that
you could have tried to get some more offense. I mean, again, they won. They did what they needed to do. And against the LA Kings team that does play quite stingy, when you have those chances, you got to make them work. Now, I understand that some of that mentality a little bit, Tommy, is like you're looking for the perfect play, right? Because you're like, oh, they play really stingy defense. I have to make a really fancy, nice play in order for this to work. when the reality is like, well, I'll get the puck to the net, because Kemper's been feeling it too. Like that's his first loss in a long time. And he played incredibly solid as well, made some pretty good saves. That one toe save, I think it was on Draisaitl, was a really nice save. Like the one push across too on Draisaitl to push him to the outside was really nice. Draisaitl kind of tried to outweight him. Kemper didn't bite, stuck with him. It would have been nice. Would have been nice to have a couple more of those looks. So yeah, the execution and the odd man rushes wasn't there as much as you'd like. But that's really nitpicky, because to me, the bigger part of this game was, are you going to lose your patience? And are you going to have defensive breakdowns? Mm-hmm. And they didn't have too many. They had some, but that's going to happen. You're never going to play a perfect game. Stuart Skinner made a couple big saves. We already talked about that 2-on-1.
Cass, we were talking about I brought up the power play earlier, 0 for 2 for the Oilers. Did you see it more, the Oilers just not in sync there? I just thought LA did an excellent job of pressuring them and not letting them set up, and it seemed like the Oilers had no answer for it. Yeah,
both. I think especially early on in the game, and that kind of goes into the 2-on-1s too. The Oilers' execution, like defensively, they executed well. Positionally, they executed well. They weren't fantastic with the puck today. Yeah. Like if we're going to look at, where the Oilers could have been better or things to look at, they didn't execute well with the puck. Now, most of that was in the first period. I think Draisaitl had 3 plays where he fanned on the puck, like on a pass 2 or 3 times, or fanned on 2 of them, and then had a turnover in the offensive zone inside of like 2 shifts where I was like, ooh, like he's not feeling it today. Yeah. And I think for the power play, that was a little bit of the case as well, where they just weren't as crisp from an execution standpoint. Now they made up for in other areas, go to Draisaitl. I mean, the hustle to, battle to that puck in the offensive zone. What he turned on the Jets, in that play, and then, physical out battles this guy, wins the puck, and you end up getting possession and scoring a goal after he's been on the ice for like 2.5 minutes. I mean, that was pretty ridiculous that he managed to do that. And I can't believe Connor even stayed on the ice. He didn't even be on the ice over 3 minutes and he stayed on. So they kind of rambling from where we first started there, fellas. But there was some moments in the game that, they could have executed better. And the power play, again, I think is just a reflection of that.
Guys, that was just Darcy Kemper's 3rd regulation loss of the season. The last one, I was just looking it up, November 11th at Calgary, 3-1, the Kings lost. He let in 2 goals on 27 shots. So he has not had a regulation loss since November 11th, over 2 months ago. I mean, he was a little bit nicked up in that time. He missed a stretch of games, but that's pretty impressive. A guy's only lost 3 times in regulation. You get one on him, and he is the guy that's supposed to try to lead the Kings to victory over the Oilers if they meet in the postseason. I think that's a big one for Edmonton. And Skinner wins the goaltending duel.
Yeah. Both absolutely right on both counts, Tom. I think it's a big one for Edmonton to win a low-scoring LA-style game, win it on home ice, and to have Stuart Skinner win that goaltending battle. That is huge. You are absolutely right.
I've seen a couple of texts that have come in, guys, in regard to another slow start. I initially, after the first period, was like, I kind of thought, was that a slow start? But then I looked at the shots on goal. The Kings outshot Edmonton. Edmonton passed up on opportunities, like I was saying, and didn't take those shots, going into perfect position, as Kass alluded to. But after I thought about it in the first intermission, did not classify that as a slow start for Edmonton. How did you guys look at it? Go ahead, Kass, and then go Hernan.
It was a sloppy start. Not necessarily slow. Like I think they were trying. Like, it wasn't that there was a lack of effort. They weren't asleep. They still did some good things defensively. They just couldn't execute, as I already said. So I don't know. I kind of.
But to classify it as a slow start,
it was
Chicago and Pitt for sure.
Yeah, I think it was a slow start, Tommy, but it was a very different type of slow start.
Okay.
Right? Like, because those other ones,
they were bad in those periods.
They were bad in those ones. Yeah. And they like, it was a completely different type of slow start. Like, this one is like, offensively, they just couldn't get a lot going. They passed up some opportunities, as you said. So it wasn't like it was flawless. It wasn't like it was fast. It wasn't like it was good, but it wasn't nearly as bad as some of those other ones. So I think it was slow, but it was more from just an execution standpoint and not quite to the level of those other ones.
And so what would you say?
Yeah, I agree, the sloppiness, but I think the difference is like they looked engaged at least. It's just things weren't, they couldn't get the passes together. The pucks were kind of skipping over their sticks. Like if you look at the Chicago and the Pittsburgh first periods, it almost looked like they were out of sync. They just weren't, their heads weren't in it. But I didn't get that feeling today. It's just like Kass said, I think the perfect word for the first probably 10 to 14 minutes of this game was sloppy. It's just they couldn't get it together in that sense, but they looked engaged. They were battling. And like you said, they still had a couple of decent chances in that first 10 minutes. But again, I think it's a little bit different from the last two games.
Dusty via the nasty chat says first 10 minutes was a slow start, not the entire first period. Penner's Pancakes agrees with you guys. It was a slushy start. They couldn't put two passes together. And then X-Ray J says, at Tom Gazzola, what game did you watch? They were overwhelmed. LA looked like they were playing playoff level. Oilers played like it was mid-January. Disagree. And I was also watching a bit of the football game in the first period, I'll be honest with you.
No, that's just finding something to complain about, Tom. Again,
X-Ray J is pretty critical.
LA was better in the first period. I don't think any of us have not agreed with that, but I don't think they were overwhelmed. I think that's too harsh a criticism. I don't think the Oilers were overwhelmed in the last 40 minutes. Not even close.
All right, let's go. Shaggy and St. Albert and Dirty Curdy. Then we'll get Kass's look ahead because Kass needs to get some rest. What time are you up in the morning, Kass?
I will be up at 3 a.m., Tom.
Oh, you're going to sleep in, huh?
Long sleep in, yeah.
Long sleep in. All right, Shaggy first, then Dirty Curdy, and then we'll get some final thoughts from Kass and let him get rested up for his trip. Shaggy says, Oilers started slow again, but slowly took over the game. Skinner played great, kept it 0-0 in the first. Oilers got that first goal. They played well defensively, but missed on some great chances to extend their lead. A lot of odd man rushes wasted. Playing with fire, not getting the insurance goal, score the expletive empty net goal. Definitely not a wave scenario at any point in this game. This is an example of a win is a win I am okay with. Playing a very good team and surviving a playoff-style game as opposed to just getting by with an inferior team. The Oilers actually out-hit the Kings. Must have been the Josh Brown effect. That was Shaggy at St. Albert. Josh Brown, by the way, under 7 minutes tonight, if you were wondering what his stats were. Dirty Curdy says, sign Emerson. Stat. The kid can play a hard and smart game. Skinner, great bounce back after getting a sunburn in Pitt. Are the Oilers the worst team in the league with an empty net? What was that? Connor, then Leon flubbed those chances. Huge dub, keeping Vegas in their sights. La effin' Bamba, Dirty Curdy. Okay. Do you want to respond to any of those, guys? Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think Emerson played, Tommy, you probably know this. He played 17 minutes. That might be the highest he's played this season.
I can check it, but he did play 17:06. He was out there when they were protecting that lead in the last minute. I think that's noteworthy for sure. And then, Kass, if you want to hit on anything as well from Dirty Curdy and Shaggy, I'll look up Emerson's minutes this season.
I think just the one thing I don't want to say I took issue with, but I disagree with, was it wasn't like they were just surviving, right? Like this wasn't that we got one goal and we're just surviving type of game. Like it was it wasn't like a hold on and we hope we're going to beat these guys. Like it wasn't like when San Jose had the lead on Edmonton and it's just like they're just a tire fire defensively, praying they don't get scored on again, praying that they're going to somehow manage to hold on and win the game. Like it wasn't that type of game at all. So it was nice to see against a really good, one of the best defensive teams in the league. Edmonton responded in kind, was able to play that style, play it responsibly, and come away with a win. So to me, it's not like a win is a win is a win. This wasn't like you were down a couple goals to a bad team and you managed to come back and beat Chicago type of win, which is more like that's a win is a win is a win. This one is like a good, solid win.
All right, I've got Emerson's stats here. That was his fourth most minutes played in a game this season. He played 2015, October 9th. That's the season opener against Winnipeg, which was an awful night. He was -2. It was an awful night for everybody on the team. Yeah, they got blown out to start the season. Then on November 23rd versus the Rangers, he played 17:59. And November 30th at Colorado, he ended up playing 19:56. So this 17:06 today is the fourth most of the season for Ty Emberson. A good sign. And we're seeing him kind of get comfortable. How would you describe the way Emberson is evolving, Kass?
He's getting comfortable, which is good to see.
Yeah.
Was a little scattered or very scattered at the start of the season. We saw him get a little bit lost out there, running around a little bit, and he seems to have kind of compacted his game and has made some better decisions. And we have, for a while, liked his physicality. So he's kind of stuck with that, which is really good. Love the physicality. And he's just cut out some of the running around, which I think has made a big difference. And hey, it's starting to pay off.
Cass, just one for Cass. Cass, would you stick with 11-7 heading into Wednesday's game in Minnesota?
Nope.
Okay.
No, I would go back to 12. Like, I think you pull Brown back out of the lineup. You played him 6 minutes. Rotate one of those forwards in there, but get Jeff Skinner back in. Like, if you're wanting to rotate every couple games and get 3 guys through, so Brown can slide in, and then Skinner can slide in, and then Ryan can slide in, like, and just kind of get a rotation going, I'm totally fine with that. But yeah, I probably would rotate away from it, and that's just to keep guys in the lineup and keep them playing, keep them ready, as it were.
780-218-9999. Get into the nasty chat as well. It's the GCL Diesel Oil Stream post-game show. Edmonton, a 1-0 victory over the LA Kings. Shots on goal, 30 apiece officially. Edmonton loses the face-off battle, 51.6% for LA, 48.4% for the Oil. Power play 0 for 2, PK 1 for 1. 15 hits for the Oilers to 8 for the Kings. So, yes, they did out-hit LA. Block shots, 16 for Edmonton, 14 for LA. Officially, 11 giveaways for the Kings, 8 for the Oilers, and 4 takeaways for the Kings, 3 for your Edmonton Oilers. All right, we're going to get Kass's thoughts going into this 3-game road trip. Starts Wednesday night in Minnesota, 6:30 start. We're on the air at 5:30 with the GCL Diesel pregame show. And then we're going to be live on location at Boston Pizza Westgate on Thursday, 7:30 start in Colorado against the Avalanche. The show will get going at 6:30 p.m. We'll have lots of fun at BP Westgate. Great spot. Tony from BP actually got into the inbox. I'll get to it in a little bit. Kass, this game against the Wild, how do you get ready for it? What do the Oilers have to be more prepared for? Because it's going to be another tough test.
Yeah, another tough test against another team that, they have offensive guys now, and they play better offense and play a more up-tempo game than the Jacques Lemaire Minnesota Wild. However, still a really good defensive team, like a team that plays on that defense first side of the puck. They're a good team. They are, I would say, a very good team still. It's going to be another challenge, and I think the schedule is going to be a challenge for Edmonton here heading into not just this game, but just forward. And really, you're going to play a couple really good teams here where you're going to have to be ready for it. I think you just have to take that same mentality, and that if Minnesota is stifling, if they're playing good defense, getting some good goaltending, if they're keeping you to the outside of just playing that patient game, like, to me, the blueprint of how you won tonight against the LA Kings is how you want to approach this game against the Minnesota Wild, is just patience. Don't care if you win at 1-0 or 2-0 or 6-5, like, just play the game steady. Don't try to force too much, and maybe we'll get a little bit cleaner execution the first 10 minutes, and maybe they score another goal or two.
Kass, get your rest. Safe travels tomorrow. Great stuff as always, my friend.
Thanks, guys. You have a good night.
There's Matt Cassian, our game analyst, with his breakdown. Brought to you by South Fort Chevrolet. Nanso, you got any texts you want to get to before we go inside the Oilers locker room?
Let's see here. Yes, Scoobs says, Tommy, any word on what Jeff Skinner did to the coaching staff? The coach's dog. He must have run it over. Right? No, listen, I think he'll get back in here eventually, but I think his chances of getting top 6 minutes is pretty much out the door at this point. Tommy,
Yeah,
I don't see it happening, but I agree with Cass. I think they go back to 12-6, and it's going to be Mr. Josh Brown out, and then it's going to be one of Ryan or Skinner back into the lineup. So we'll see what happens there.
Okay, a couple texts here. Nash and Whitecourt, sarcastic, by the way. This team will never win a cup with Skinner. They need a goalie that can make more than a paltry 30 saves in a game. Well played, Nash and Whitecourt. Hey, Original Puzar, good to hear from OP, who says, in my opinion, that was a fantastic defensive performance by the Oilers. Yes, I know the Kings had some chances and controlled flow of play early, but they only generated chances off of those Oilers' poor passing and poor managing of the puck. Oilers defended well even when they were sluggish. Once they found their legs, they gave up almost nothing until the goalie was pulled and very little dangerous at all. Nurse was a beast tonight. Again, says Original Puzar. And you know what? I'm glad Original Puzar brought up the poor passing and poor puck management because a lot of it was Stuart Skinner. He was bad playing the puck.
Yeah.
Don't play the puck, Stu. Don't play the puck. Anyway, let's go inside the Oilers locker room. Keep those texts coming in. We will read as many as we can as we roll along here on the GCL Diesel Oil Stream postgame show. 1-0, the Oil win it over the LA Kings. That's a big 2 points in regulation, and it is on to Minnesota now. But Hernan, who are we going to hear from first?
How about we go to the El Capitan? It's been a while since we've heard from him. So
Birthday boy.
Yeah. Here we go. Here's Connor McDavid, postgame.
Play on 4-on-4 together a lot. When you practice power play and a lot of other stuff. You practice 4-on-4, just talk about stuff. Is it instinct? What's it like?
We never practice 4-on-4. A lot of it's just instinct. A lot of it's just playing together for so long. Yeah.
Connor, how would you describe what they undid on your goal there?
Yeah, it was a great battle. Great skate, great battle off the ice. Makes a great play to Nursey. Great play all around.
He's had some really good moments in his career, some really good sustained periods. How would you kind of describe how he's playing right now?
He's playing as good as I've ever seen. Obviously, really dug in, both sides of the rink, scoring goals, making plays, winning draws, doing lots.
Does it seem like kind of playoff game?
It's always that way against LA, It's always that kind of grinding way, low scoring, kind of low event hockey. We know how to play these games with them. I thought we maybe beat them at their own game today. Just, playing patient, finding a way to get one, and holding on for a win.
Stuart Skinner, huge save early in that game on campaign. Now it's 2 shutouts and 3 starts for him.
Yeah, he's playing great. Really good early on. That save on the 2-on-1 really gets us going. Helps a lot. It's a team that you want to play. Out front of. When they get you, when they have a lead on you, they can make it pretty tough. So, huge save. Solid all night.
It's a big week for you guys going to Minnesota and then Colorado. Just a thought on looking ahead, trying to kind of keep this going here for you guys.
Yeah, it's been a busy stretch here, a lot of traveling around. Quick little pit stop here and back out on the road. So, big couple games here on the road, and but I like how we're playing. We'll be fine.
We'll be fun playing against McKinnon and Rantanen, and they got 4 of the top scorers in the league playing in that game.
Yeah, it's always fun. They're a great challenge. So is Minnesota. I don't want to look past them. They're playing some really good hockey. But obviously, whenever get that many stars in one game, it's always fun. Great challenge. That 5-man unit that they put out there with McKinnon and Makar and Taves and Rantanen and all those guys. It's pretty tough. But makes for fun hockey.
So are you guys, the one area in kind of an odd way that whatever you guys struggle with, bad luck, whatever's burying those empty net goals. Had a few good chances again tonight.
Yeah, for whatever reason we struggle with those, but I thought we were solid there 6-on-5. We didn't give up much. I thought maybe they had one crack at the net, but Stu was solid again. So I liked our 6-on-5 there, and it'd be nice to find a way to finish the game. But we're comfortable in that situation too.
All right, there was the captain, Connor McDavid, also the birthday boy. Kudos to the fans for singing happy birthday to him tonight, I think in the first period. And then I heard it a little bit later on in the game as well. Couple of things there. McDavid, the interesting quote, and I like this, is we know how to play those low event games. And then he also added that they kind of beat them at their own game in regard to the LA Kings, low scoring, tight checking affairs. And the Oilers managed to get it done. And then the other thing, DVD asking about Thursday's game and not Wednesday. I know for a fact he has to write the preview and a feature on that game because it does have the 4 leading scorers in the league in it. And that's why he slipped that question in there, because he probably won't have a chance to talk to McDavid again about it. That's the rationale, by the way. I'm just going to say that. And so what did you take away from Connor tonight?
Yeah, Connor, man, he's just laid back and enjoying it. And, he talked about, the question that DVD asked him. And just, it was a good game. Stuart Skinner was the main reason they won this one. He was outstanding, Tom. So, Connor, it's good to hear from him. I feel like it's been a while since we've heard from the captain. There's a lot of Leon. We have Leon as well if you want to get to it, Tommy.
We'll get to it. I just want to read a couple of texts first, and then we'll go to Leon Draisaitl. McDavid with the game-winning goal on his birthday, his 1,041st career NHL point as he turns 28. Anthony on Long Island texting in says, big regulation win tonight, big 2 points. Skinner, baby, on to Minnesota. Good night, gents, from New York. Thank you, Anthony on Long Island. Rip City Step, never doubted him. And then I like this one from Two Line Pass. Stu Doomers are pretty quiet tonight. That was a goaltender's battle, and Stu came out on top. Huge game for him. Two Line Pass. Stanley and YYC. Evening, gents. Hard-fought game. Take the 2 massive points. Great games by the goalies on both sides. And then Mike in Thunder Bay. We got some East Coasters that we need to tuck into bed because it's late out there. Mike in Thunder Bay says, what a win. Happy birthday, McDavid. Skinner's shutout is actually going to count this time. Impressive to see Emberson out to protect the lead in the dying minutes. Coach is trusting the kid. Maybe this team should practice scoring empty net goals. Bank those 2 points and sleep well, Oil Country. Mike in Thunder Bay. Hernan.
Tommy, why does Donnie M want to trade Nuge after a 1-0
Donnie M hates Nuge.
Come on, Donnie M. Come on, let's be positive. Why are we talking about trades?
Donnie M.
And no, Nuge has a no movement clause, so that's
right.
I know you said one can dream, but yeah, it's only going to happen in a dream because it's not going to happen. Let's be positive tonight. It's a hell of a win by the Oilers.
It is, and there's 2 listeners ever that I've ever seen absolutely assault and besmirch Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. This guy at our old station that I think was briefly listening to us, Alfredo, who just hated Nugent-Hopkins and would always come after me whenever Nugent-Hopkins had a bad game because he knows I'm a Nugent-Hopkins sympathizer, if you will, and I readily admit that. And then Donnie M. Donnie M comes after me every time I sympathize for Nugent-Hopkins. So I don't know if Alfredo and Donnie M are the same or they just both hate Nugent-Hopkins and want us to know it as much as possible. And they're just on the same wavelength. But that's the story there. Anyway, let's go into the Oilers locker room again and hear from Leon Draisaitl.
Early save from Stu, and really, you look back, huge point of the game.
Yeah, really big save, great timing. Gives us a chance to kind of find our legs and get into the game. So, yeah, he was obviously great tonight.
Felt you guys got better as the game went on, a little slow start.
Yeah, a really slow start. Didn't really have our legs. Thought they were better than us in the first period, but those games seem to happen sometimes when you're coming off a long road trip. So I thought we found our legs fine and obviously hung on at the end and did a good job defending.
Take us through that play going up to the winner there. You burned Lewis pretty good on there, had a good play by him there. Take us through that.
Yeah, it was a loose puck and I thought I had to jump on a race and came up with it, and then Nursey took a great route there, really smart play by him, and yeah, good bounce on Davis' stick, of course.
Did you feel like it was sort of had to be a little bit patient and figure things out a little bit at their blue line and that kind of thing, Leon? Took a bit of time?
Yeah, you always have to be patient with them. They're a good team. They defend well. They're very patient, so you have to be patient as well. So thought we did a good job after the first.
Do they play any different than the team you've been going up against for 3 years? Do you notice any more offensive, chance taking or anything? Or?
No, they're just a good team. They got a lot of good players. Obviously, their system in the neutral zone has changed a little bit, but yeah, it's just two good teams going at it. Obviously, two teams that know each other really well. You're going to get games like that if that's the case.
And with the three centers tonight, you got to play with Perry and Kapanen a little bit, and whoever seemed to play at that duo you guys generated. What do you think of their play just together and what they're doing well lately?
Yeah, I think they just complement each other really well. Cappy obviously has great legs and good skill and makes a lot of plays. Pear is really good in the offensive zone, one of the best in the league still. So just I think the duo, or they complement each other really well. So not surprised that it worked well.
You got some big games coming up here. I guess this is almost like an extended road trip, coming home for one and then going back on the road. Just give me a thought on the Minnesota and Colorado. There's two tough games coming up here back to back.
Yeah, obviously we got three good teams here coming up, and schedule has been tight. Lots of games lately, lots of travel for us, but you got to find a way to win those games as well. And we're going on the road and start with Mini and try and get 2 points there.
Yeah,
The Colorado. Sorry, go
going
ahead.
back to the goal there, did you sense or did you see that Trevor Moore was there? Was it was a forward and maybe you could kind of do some damage? Or?
Yeah, I mean, the puck just hopped over his stick, and I had my momentum going that way, so I thought I could maybe win that race or get inside position on him, and just took a chance.
Don't want to look too far ahead, but you're going to have four of the top goal scoring players in the league when you play Colorado. How fun will that be to go up against some of those guys?
Yeah, it's always a challenge. Really good players. Obviously, that line is as dynamic as it gets, and you doing that on purpose? No, you're good. No, you're good. But it's always a challenge against them. So we got lots of great players ourselves. So just good.
Okay, I don't know what was going on there, but maybe somebody was hitting him with the mic.
Yeah, it seemed like something, and I think the reporter or whatever was like, "Oh, sorry, that's what you heard." So maybe Reed can fill us in when he joins us here.
Yeah,
so.
Reed, he'll have to do that. Leon Draisaitl tonight, by the way, an assist +1, 5 shots, and he went 16 for 25 on the dot for 64%. Ended up playing 24-36. That led all Oilers forwards, actually led the whole team in ice time tonight. McDavid 24-18. And then we've also got Nurse at 22-41, Bouchard at 22-23, and Ekholm at 22-38. So a big night for Leon Draisaitl on the dot, 16 for 25. The next closest on the dot in terms of just volume of faceoffs taken was Adam Henrique, who was not at all efficient at 35.7%, winning just 5 of 14. And then you had McDavid going 5 for 11, Nugent Hopkins 3 for 7, Podkolzin 1 for 1. Hey-o. Janmark 0 for 1, Arvidsson 0 for 2, Brown 0 for 1.
He does it all, man. Podkolzin.
He does it all.
I just want to say, and this is an interesting stat. Stuart Skinner hasn't lost back-to-back games since October, Tom. Since October.
He's never going to be able to do it, though.
Like, it's crazy. I heard that on the broadcast, and that's amazing to me. And he's coming off a tough game in Pittsburgh where the team wasn't good in front of him. But, yeah, he probably like one goal back that he led him, but the other ones he'd really never had a shot at. But this is a guy that, he's maturing right before our eyes. And, Tom, sometimes they lose and he doesn't even have a bad game, but let's just say whatever. But for me, that's such an important part where he bounces back. And, look at this bounce back, Tom. Like, that game, when was that game? Thursday? Yeah. And then, a lot of times pass here, like 4 days, and then 3 days, and then he comes back and he's just dialed in and he gets the win, and he's not letting these losses pile up, and that's so important for your starting goaltender. So, man, kudos to, I can't remember who threw out that stat, if it was Jack or Louis, but that to me is remarkable that he hasn't lost back-to-back games since October. Tom, that's 2.5 months, man.
It's a sign of a good goalie, I would say. We were just giving praise to Darcy Kemper for not losing in regulation in 2 months. November 11th was his last regulation loss. And Kemper did miss time due to injury. I think there was like a 7 or 8 game stretch there where he was on the shelf too. So that is a good notable stat about Stu Skinner. And one of the texters earlier said all the Skinner doomers, I believe was the term, are quiet tonight. Great save. Actually, a bunch of great saves. The one on Kempe on the 2-on-1 that ended up landing on top of the net, that was probably his best. But he also, I mean, most of my notes that I took tonight, all 3 periods were Skinner, nice save on this, Skinner, nice save on that. And then the other notes about Skinner were poor handling of the puck, playing it poorly. Happened a couple of times. Okay, Donnie M, really quickly. Donnie M replied, Hernan. Said, thanks, boys. Trying to be funny. Love you guys. Best analysis. Thank you. EST, you guys are the best. Your shows make my day, especially when there was no sports radio. Well, sports radio's back, baby. And your clear choice is EST. Donnie M, thank you. We appreciate the text and interaction as always. Scoob says, Tommy, any word on what Jeff Skinner did to the coach's dog? He must have run it over or something. You read that one already, right?
Yeah. It's
unreal. No idea. It's not well liked. That's for sure.
I like this one from Chief Andy. Maybe Reed was handing Dry some EST socks. And then Norm in the comment says, it's his 3rd year. Lay off from Hernan. Ha ha ha.
It is his 3rd year.
I've been, listen, I was harsh on Stewie Skins to start because he wasn't very good. But I mean, now I've kind of jumped on to stop that every time they lose, it's all on Stuart Skinner. Like sometimes, and Tom, when he's bad, we'll say it and we will. But tonight, you're talking about the saves. There was one, Tom, I think it was in the 3rd. It was a point shot from Mikey Anderson, but he waited for Kopitar to come across his sight line, and Kempe was just off to the side, and you see kind of Kempe laugh saying, oh man, that was coming right to me. But Stuart Skinner was able to track it even with the moving screen in front of him and grabbed it with his glove. I thought that was an excellent save. It probably doesn't look like much because it's just a shot from the point, but when you saw the replay and you saw how kind of detailed and planned it was by the LA Kings, for me, that's one of his best saves of the night.
That was a great save. He was good, man. And I think he has quieted some of that noise. And I feel like, what Norm said, it's his 3rd year. That will get lost and will continue to get lost. And I feel like he might be in an unenviable position where unless he just goes on a monster tear and becomes this elite goalie, 915 save percentage, sub 3 GAA, I think he's going to have his detractors here. And it just feels like he's kind of become a lightning rod. Mm-hmm. Good and bad. But I think the body of work, it has been overwhelmingly good in 3 years. Is it perfect? Is the way it, evolved and how it started great? No, not necessarily. It's not storybook, but he is getting it done. And sometimes it isn't pretty. Sometimes it is pretty, like tonight. But I think for the most part, he's become a very reliable goalie. Would those averages need to be better? Yes. Would that provide some solace and comfort for some fans? Absolutely. But I think at the end of the day, if he's winning these games, the important ones, and shows he can buckle it down on a night like tonight, and then Jack actually pointed out in that first round series last year, he had the 1-0 shutout win. Maybe a few more nights like that, and some of his naysayers will finally convert to the good side and see the light. Let's go to Nature Boy really quickly. He says, glass half full, boys. They got off to a bit of a slow start, but there wasn't a lot of room out there, and they came away with the win. Let's be happy on Monday evening. And Millwood's Matt says, it's good to point out that Emerson played that many minutes when the Oilers played or had 7 defensemen in the lineup. And that's a good point too. Nanso, anything else from you?
Chief Andy says, okay, Tom, you're rubbing salt in I and Ace's wound.
I saw him and Ace like admitting that Skinner was good. I'm like, do I even say anything? Do I acknowledge
How much did that sting, boys? How much did that sting? But you know they're happy. They're Oiler fans. They're happy. They're just having some fun.
You want to rub some like fresh salt in the wound? Call out X-Ray J and say that Dustin Schwartz has been the reason why Skinner's been so good, and I could just see him cringing.
He's been if Skinner's good, doesn't some credit have to go there? Just saying. I don't know how much you can put on the goalie coach, good or bad, Tommy. I'm being honest. I don't know that. I'm not a goalie. I'm going to ask Gager tomorrow. I work with a former pro goalie, so.
Yeah, that's a great resource, and I would say use him. Tube Socks says, on my way back from the game with Savage and Box Pounder. Great game, great time. All right, Nasty's hanging out, going to the game together. I love to see that. That is excellent. Boys, I hope you had a great night. Nanso, I'm going to quickly just go around the NHL. It's just a quiet night in the league. And with the Oilers obviously being the highlight for Oil Country, 1-0 victory over the LA Kings. 30-save shutout for Stu Skinner. Calgary with the 5-2 win over Chicago. That was the prime game. Today is Monday, but that was the prime game. And then it was the Flyers with the 4-3 victory over the Florida Panthers. Taking a quick look at the standings now. Yes, the Oilers create a little bit more of a buffer between them and LA, going 4 points up on the Kings. And they are now 1-0-1 against LA. 2 more games to go against the Kings, both of them being in April. Vegas continues to lead the way, 61 points through 43 games. Edmonton at 57 through 43. LA at 53 points through 41 games. You'll recall that last week, due to the wildfires, the Kings game, I believe it was against the Flames at Crypto.com Arena, had to be postponed. Dennis Bernstein from the fourth period on the pregame show saying they will likely make that game up at the end of the regular season. Wildcard standings, 53 points for the Colorado Avalanche, has them in the first wildcard spot at 44 games, 53 points. And then Calgary is now in the second and final wildcard spot with their win over Chicago tonight, 49 points in 42 games. And the Flames have rattled off 3 straight wins. They're 6-3-1 in the last 10. Minnesota, by the way, 7-3 in their last 10, but they dropped their last game. They have 58 points through 44 games. So the Oilers with a game in hand and 1 point back of the Wild. Obviously not in the same division, but just a quick little peek ahead to that game on Wednesday in Mini. That's a 6:30 start our time. We're on the air, 5:30 for the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show. We'll cut a little bit into the Reed Wilkins show with Jay Milne. All right, it is the post-game show. Tom Gazzola, Hernan Salas with you. You can keep those texts coming in if you're listening on iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, of course, EdmontonSportsTalk.com's audio player. And if you're watching on the YouTube channel, hit that thumbs up button. Nanso is going to give us the player of the game, and the player of the game is brought to you by Damon Bunting Real Estate. Oh, you know Damon Bunting well. He's a friend of the station and has been since day one. He's also a consistent top-producing realtor in the greater Edmonton area and has been for over 17 years, I should say. He and his team would love to help you find the right home or make the move from your current home. He is community-driven and understands what it takes to make a difference in our city. Check him out, DamonBunting.com, or visit his Instagram at Damon Bunting Real Estate. Nanso, without further ado, take it away.
Yeah, it has to go to the man between the pipes for the Edmonton Oilers, Stuart Skinner. 30 saves on the night. He made about 3 excellent saves. The turning point. Well, no, sorry. The turning point was the goal, but I mean, that save he made at, was it 1-0 at the time, Tom?
No, I think it was still 0-0.
Yeah, a great 2-on-1. Kopitar had everybody fooled, sends it over to Kempe, and just a fantastic save. And something you don't see often, it landed on top of the net after, which was kind of crazy. But Stuart Skinner was excellent on the night. A hell of a bounce-back game for the young man. So Stewie Skins gets the Damon Bunting player of the game.
Very well deserved, and the Oilers get the all-important 2 points. Stu Skinner continues to play very, very well. It would have been his second shutout of the week formally. It is technically his second because he had to come out in that Boston game due to the spotter and the concussion protocol. And that ends up being a team shutout. That's the second time him and Calvin Pickard have combined for one. March 10th, 2024 in Pittsburgh. It was the same scenario, except it was Pickard who had started. Skinner had to come in for a few minutes, and then Pickard took over in the second period. So, yeah, he's been playing very well. Reed Wilkins is going to hop on in just a second. He just got home from the rink. He was working the room post-game. We'll find out what the hell that one of the reporters was doing that Draisaitl was like, are you doing that on purpose? I have no clue. It's very rare. Like, the only time a player gets distracted in a scrum like that is if, like, you're accidentally bumping into him or you're, like, making faces or laughing. I've seen, like, microphones fall, equipment fall. I've seen a camera person pass out mid-interview.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's like very rare occurrence, but maybe he was just being cheeky as well. Yeah, we'll find out from Reed. Okay, Natso.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I was just going to say.
Before Reed hops on here.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for Reed as well here to get him all set to join you, Tommy, but looking ahead, I guess, to the Minnesota game, the Oilers coming off a rout the last time these two teams met. I asked Kass about going 11-7. You brought up the ice times for Josh Brown and Troy Stecher, 6 minutes, just over 6 minutes apiece, Tom. I didn't really notice Stecher, to be honest. I
noticed Stecher. I didn't notice Brown.
I noticed Brown a little bit more, maybe because of his size and the number he wears, kind of just eye-popping, right? So, I think I agree with Kass in that sense where I think it's time to just, go back to the traditional 12-6. You can get, and listen, I think I'm okay with whoever goes in, whether it's Ryan or Skinner, Tommy. Right. But I think you need to go back to the 12-6 and hopefully, no, I'm not going to say hopefully it's the end of the 11-7. I've just never been a fan of it, but it worked tonight. And it's rare to see both teams kind of using that same roster, the numbers wise. And if you look at it though, for LA, Kyle Burrows only played 2 minutes. I don't know if he was hurt or not, Tommy, but
no, they barely play him. Yeah. Remember Bernstein was talking about that.
Yeah. So definitely different, but looking forward, I now that they've kind of, gotten over that hump of beating the Minnesota Wild and handedly, I'm pretty excited to see, what Minnesota has in store for the Oilers after that butt kicking. But Reed Wilkins is good to go, Tommy.
Excellent. We're going to bring Reed in. Minnesota, the Oilers defeated them 7-1 back on December 12th. And we'll see if Minnesota utilizes that and fuels their fire Wednesday night. There he is, host of the Reed Wilkins Show, the dunk master himself. Reed Wilkins and his satellite studios. The Oilers win it 1-0. Reed, first of all, who or what was going on where Draisaitl stopped the scrum to go, are you doing that on purpose? Can you give us a little bit of info on that? Because that was kind of odd.
I was not handing him socks.
Okay.
So as you and I know, Tom, and I'm sure a lot of audience members realize this, that the TV camera people sometimes don't have a reporter with them.
Right.
And so they have to, and you and I have done this, and it was always extremely difficult. You got to have the camera on your shoulder and either hold a mic out with your other arm or hold a mic on an extender out. Never had the extenders in Lloydminster. So the camera person had a mic with a big fuzzy sock on it. And I think it was sort of brushing Draisaitl's arms. And I'm sure the guy was exhausted, holding this, and it's not the most convenient thing to hold with one hand while you're balancing a camera on the other shoulder. So I think it was brushing Draisaitl's arms, and he was finally like, are you doing this on purpose?
And those mic windsocks with the big ones that station uses would tickle.
It wasn't actually the big fuzzy one though. It was one that was a little tighter to the mug, but to the mic, but it was still feel it. And of course, Leon's the type of personality who would say, "What's going on here?" Basically. Yeah. So that's what happened there with that. I was not giving him socks. Nobody had a feather out trying to distract him or anything like that. It was unintended. I didn't even realize it was happening. Then Leon said it, and then I was like, oh, okay.
Well, we got to the bottom of it because we were all curious. Okay, Reed, the Oilers get the win against an LA Kings team that has struck fear into the hearts of some people in oil country, not all. I think this game probably helps quell some of that, but how would you look at the night overall?
Well, I think for the most part, the Oilers played excellent. I did not think they played excellent for the first 15 minutes. I mean, the shots were 8-2 LA at one point. I think it was 11. They were 11-3 still through the first period. I thought after Henrique drew that penalty when he had the partial breakaway and got slashed, I thought after that the Oilers were the better team. Not by a lot. It was very close. Yeah. But I thought the final 45 minutes tonight by the Oilers were very poised, very detailed, very professional, very under control. They talked about playing a patient game. I didn't think they were in the first 50 minutes. I thought they tried a couple, silly passes.
Yeah.
Even Leon outright fanned on a couple of passes, which you don't see very often. But Stuart Skinner, of course, he got the shutout, which means you had a great night overall. But the first 15 minutes, he was huge. Obviously, the save on the 2-on-1. There's another save on the Kings power play. I can't remember who shot it from the high slot, but he got his shoulder up on it, and it went over the net. Arvidsson knocked that puck away that I don't know if it was going to go over the goal line or not, but it was pretty close.
Yep.
So the Oilers held the Kings off, and then they sort of got into the flow. And then our COO, Matthew Iwanek, was at this game sitting next to me, and as soon as it went on the 4-on-4, he said, he goes, well, this is great. This is still basically a power play for the Oilers, which it kind of is when they put Draisaitl and McDavid out there. There was a whistle in the Kings zone 30 seconds into the 4-on-4, and I was like, I wonder if he's going to change them and put them out again at the end on the 4. No, they just stayed out there and got the goal. And that 4-on-4 sequence was the penalties leading it up to. Who was it that I got my bag now? Who was
Kapanen?
Yeah, but who was the King?
It was Lafreniere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To me, silly play to tackle McDavid.
He was mad about the hit.
But you're obviously going to get a penalty. You're obviously going to get a penalty if you lift up a player's legs and tackle him to the ice. And then I thought it was interesting that Kapanen, aggressively held Lafreniere. And then Edmonton came in with like a flying punch and didn't get a penalty. It just shows how they sort of manage those sometimes. But I mean, the 4-on-4 was fine.
I don't know which ref it was, but I think it was even before Edmondson came in with the punch, he was already being like, you and you, let's go. You and you, let's go. And I think, him with that theatrical sign and show of I'm in control of this little skirmish. You can't go, you and you, let's go. And then watch Edmondson come in, punch a guy and go, and you, let's go, because then you got to even it up with another Oilers.
Oh, so, right, yeah.
Yeah, it's the whole, the refs pompous theatrics, and I'm just sewering refs right now, so I apologize.
Well, some of them are more theatrical than others, especially when they're trying to make a statement with calls like that. But I thought it was a very encouraging game for the Oilers. To win a game once, I mean, you and I both remember, and I'm sure a lot of fans remember when Todd McClellan said, can we win a game 1-0? Well, right now we can't.
Yep.
And the Oilers could tonight. They even in the third period, the Kings had a push in the last 7 or 8 minutes. They clearly started taking some more chances offensively. They didn't get really clean looks. Even 6-on-5, they didn't get really clean looks. They weren't busy around the net. And I think we've seen when the Oilers have a good night in their own end, it's a lot of one and dones from the opposition, where it's a lot of they're passing the puck on the perimeter and they never really get it to the net, which is really encouraging. I think another individual storyline I'd like to acknowledge, I feel as if we're really seeing Ty Emberson start to blossom.
I was going to ask you about that.
There's tons of questions about him. And I don't know if it's really valuable at this point to directly compare him to CC, who can do what, who did better, but he himself is growing into a good player. He's out at the end of the game in Chicago when they're shorthanded. He's out at the end of the game tonight.
Yep.
Like that's a pretty big statement, I think, from the coaching staff. It's Matthias Ekholm and Ty Emberson.
Yep.
At the end of the game, I think he's improved or has grown a lot. I don't mean he was ever like bad at it, but we just hadn't seen him a lot. He's good at getting body position in puck battles along the boards and near the net. He's like, there was a couple plays today where he held off a guy and made a quick little pass to the center, looping back to start the breakout. So his play to me has been very encouraging, very, very encouraging. He may never score. He kind of had a prayer at the empty net maybe at the end of the game. I don't think it would have counted if it even had got in. But he's really starting to develop, I think.
That was the fourth most minutes he's played this season at 17:06. Opening night, he did play. What did he play in that game? I had it. 17:59, November 23rd versus the Rangers. November 30th, 19:56, and then that opening night, I believe he was over 20 minutes, if I recall correctly. So yeah, that was the fourth most minutes he's played, and quietly putting together a nice run here in just his 71st NHL game that he played tonight. So yeah, a lot of people bringing up Ty Emberson, and Reed, I'm glad you brought that out, or brought that up as well. Displaced Yukon or Texan says they beat them at their own game. I love it. I think this is probably one of the best games they've played this season. What does that say about Draisaitl pass up an empty net while chasing the Rocket? I don't know. I thought they were sloppy with the empty net. Hey, Reed?
I don't think they've scored a lot of empty netters this season.
Like 8?
Probably, especially relative to other teams that are, 12, 13, 15 games above 500.
Yeah.
I would guess they have fewer empty netters. I mean, Draisaitl hit the post. I thought they were fine in their own end, but once I sometimes think they're so unselfish. They get the puck out, and then they're in the neutral zone. Oh, I better. Who am I going to pass to?
Exactly.
Who needs a goal? Oh, where's Zach? Where's Leon? Oh no, wait, no, Leon's going to pass it back to me.
Reed, if Bouchard was actually out there and had passed it to Hyman, and then he passed it for a goal or shot it into the net, that would have completed the EST lock shop parlay.
Oh, wow.
Partner parlay. It did not happen, though.
But see, Bouch isn't out late in the games now, right?
And I think now
it's Emberson, which is, I think that's fine. Hyman was, right? And then Nugent Hopkins came on for the final shift. I mean, we've seen Janmark used in that situation too. So, but yeah, I will have to search, or I don't know if you have time to do it, but I'd like to search their team empty net goals. So I would imagine it's middle of the pack at best. I mean, some of the really lousy teams probably don't have. Well, actually, that's not true, because even if you have 13 wins, you could still have 8 empty net goals.
Yeah,
like the Oilers have, and they're up to 27 wins now. So
27.
Yeah.
Emberson also, you talked about Hyman being out there with the empty net, Nugent Hopkins replacing him. Emberson came on for Kulak, I believe.
Yeah, so Bouch has kind of not been used in that position anymore. I remember in the playoffs,
That's fine.
He was out in the final minute, and even at times earlier this year, defending leads. So yeah, I think that's good. They found, and I still think they'd be comfortable putting Nurse out there. I mean, we have seen even last year too, Nurse and Ekholm sometimes out together in intense situations as well. But it's been Emberson lately. I just want to throw this out there too, Tom. Sorry if I'm hogging the mic.
Go for it.
The 11-7 was interesting. I don't remember seeing a lot of Josh Brown after the first period. He might have been the Oilers' best player in the first 12 or 13 minutes, quite frankly. But he was out there for an offensive zone faceoff with about 6 minutes left in the third period, so he didn't play a lot, and Stetcher kind of didn't play that much either. I asked Knobloch, I bundled the question together, which probably was silly, because I said, why did you play 11-7 and how did it go? And he just kind of answered the how did it go part, but he did say, we have good centers that we can rotate and get an extra shift with our fourth liners.
Yeah. And
I'm wondering, is it time to really see what they have with Noah Philp? I mean, I think
at some point here, right?
I think we've seen Derek Ryan sort of now is really at the tail end, and he's a great story. He had a great career, and he bust his he busts his butt when he's out there.
Yeah.
But, and then the whole Jeff Skinner thing is like he comes back from being scratched, and I thought at least played okay, if not quite well, a couple of games. And now he's left out of the lineup 2 games again. So there's clearly some trust issues there with the coaching staff and Skinner. So I'm wondering if it's time, with 2 months to the trade deadline. Okay, Philp, like we're gonna call you up, and maybe you're not going to play every night, but you're going to play 10 of the next 15 games. And then let's see if we need to go out and get a Nick Bjugstad type or whoever. I know they can't afford a lot, but you know what I'm saying? Maybe that's another position they need to address with a trade if they can't address it internally.
I was talking about this on the Oil Stream today. Like, yes to Philp getting games, and I think we're going to see that. And then the eventual shift, if he can continue to progress well, is he ends up being the fourth line center. But in the playoffs, Reed, I think they're going to need somebody more experienced fourth line center. And that's not a knock on Noah Philp. It's just he hasn't played a lot of NHL games. He's played 3. He's played 3 NHL games. And even though he's 26, he's only got a couple of years of pro under his belt. It's been a long path to pro hockey for him. But another good story, feel-good story for sure. But I still think you're going to need somebody with more experience than Noah Philp. But get him some games. I'm all for it. And I think that fading of Derek Ryan and the progression of Noah Philp, this is the crossroads, or at least we're coming to it pretty quickly. I also want to get to a couple texts and then some thoughts from Reed going into Wednesday night. Ro Nelson says, Emberson is hopefully a trade chip. Small, 5'11", inexperienced defensive defensemen are best replaced with experienced defensemen that have size if you want a cup. Fine as a 7D on a cup team. Ty Emberson is not 5'11". Ty Emberson is listed as 6'2". He is 6'2". Reed, you're in the room just as much as I am. He's a big guy. I don't know where this idea that he's small came from. I do know I said in preseason that it seemed like he played small, but clearly like he's physical and the way I look at him has totally shifted, and I can appreciate the little things he's putting together and doing. But I don't know. I've seen a couple of people say he's small, but he isn't. He's a normal size, good size NHL defenseman, 6'2". He's built pretty strong, and we've seen him lay the body on some guys. So I don't know where this has come from, but
I don't see him as a trade chip.
Yeah,
because I think the Oilers traded a player. What's the age difference? 8 years older than Emberson, ish.
Cody Cece's 31 or 32. Yeah.
So they traded an older, more experienced player to get a player that they probably thought could be as good or better than Cody Cece.
Yeah.
Hopefully within the next couple of years. And maybe he's coming along to having a role on this team. So I don't see him as a trade chip. I see him as someone they want to grow with.
That is 100% true, because I know that they've already started very preliminary contract talks with him and his agent. So, but they've done that with a few guys as well. But Emberson is very much in the cards for the future, especially if he continues to progress the way he has been. So it's just interesting. I've seen that a couple places. Ro Nelson, not to pick on you or anything. It's just he's not small. He's a good size, bigger guy. So
I would say this too, and you've heard me say this before, Tom. Let's recognize what a player is instead of what he isn't. And if Ty Emberson can be a very strong third pairing defenseman, that's okay. That's okay.
Absolutely. Well said. Okay, a couple more texts, and then last thoughts from Reed as we wind things down. Stamp Hater says the Kings have a bit more speed than the past couple of years. I would argue this might be the least talented from a goal scoring standpoint. Kings were also back to playing a 1-3-1. I noticed as well. They really did try to clog up the neutral zone at times, didn't they tonight, Reed?
Yeah, well, Hyman said in his post game that there's just not a lot of room out there, and it's because of how these two teams play and how well they know each other. So they know all the guys' strengths and weaknesses. So you can't get fooled by much. Yeah, that's. I still think they're a decent goal scoring team. I mean, Fogel's having a good year. Kopitar is still very dangerous with the puck on his stick, whether he's shoots it himself or gives it to somebody else. We saw Fogle with that. He does have that sneaky heavy shot, right? And Skinner and a couple other goalies had said over the years, who's got the hardest shot on the team. They said, well, Fogel's isn't like the hardest, but it just comes at you really heavy. And he got a couple of those off tonight. It's interesting with Byfield because he was so good in that game in December. And you look at his stats, he's at half a point a game. Jay and I were talking about this on our show. Like his stats actually aren't that much better than like Podkolzin's or Brown's, but you'd think, well, Byfield's, and he probably will be way better. Mm-hmm. But I wonder for him if it's still finding that consistency. I think the Kings, look, Todd McClellan said it when the Oilers won that series in 6 games. We want to win the Stanley Cup, and right now we have lost to the same team in our division 2 years in a row. So we have to beat Edmonton before we can do anything. And then the Oilers beat them a third time with Hiller as the coach last year. I think the Kings have added players like Gavrikov and Edmondson, specifically with the Oilers in mind, quite frankly.
I agree.
But yes, up front, if you get into a 5-4 game with the Oilers, are the Kings as equipped to handle that as other years? Maybe not, but I think they're saying we have to deny their big players access to our net.
Makes sense. Okay, quick follow-up. And then, Reed, we're going to get your look ahead to Wednesday. Ro Nelson says, read the article. Okay, I know which one you're talking about. Speck wrote an article, and he said something about it. Here's the quote from Speck in his article. Emerson, listed as 6'2", 190 pounds. I stood next to him, and he was in stocking feet. I'm 5'11". He was not taller than me. Well, I'm taller than Speck, and Emerson is like 2 or 3 inches taller than me, so I would say that was a fib on Speck's part. So Ty Emerson's 6'2". I'll just tell you that.
Okay, but is he getting dominated physically? He's not.
No, exactly. And if he's 6'1" and 3/4, whatever. But
I'm not trying to say he's a second coming of Scott Stevens. I'm just saying let's recognize the work that he's doing, and that I think he's improving and turning into a good player.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the most important thing. I think that's what matters the most. Anyway, okay, let's look ahead to Wednesday night, Riedrich. It is the Minnesota Wild. It is the start of a 3-game road trip. This is like 8 games in 8 different cities, 9 games in 9 different cities, whatever this little stretch is here. How do you look at this game where the Oilers smacked the Wild around back on December 12th, 7-1 in Minnesota?
Well, I believe Minnesota was missing 4 good players in that game.
Yeah.
Are they all back? If they're not all back, some of them will be, because Kaprizov's back, right?
Yeah.
He didn't play that game. Minnesota's good. I liked they've played well this year. I think when they're healthy for the most part. I really liked how they played under Rutger Hauer, the coach that got fired and went to Columbus. I'm blanking on his name. Evison.
Dean Evison, yeah.
Yeah, I thought he looked like Rutger Hauer, the late actor, who, of course, was the villain in Blade Runner.
Right.
So I think that's a tough game. Colorado, I know there's a lot of, the Avalanche, aren't as good as they used to be. No, but they're still a playoff team, and they still have a lot of dangerous players. And then you got to finish it off against Vancouver, that I know hasn't been great, but hates the Oilers, and it's always a spirited game when they play. This is a tough week. I think this is tougher than the previous 4 games the Oilers played before tonight. Having said that, I was not optimistic about this game for the Oilers tonight. This one-off home after a road trip, and though it didn't look good early, they put it together pretty well, which I think is a sign of maturity and knowing what they need to do in each individual game. So hopefully they can have that figured out mentality over the next 3.
Riedrich, as always, a pleasure having you on, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow in studio.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Hernan.
There you go. Reed Wilkins, the Dunk Master, giving us his breakdown of the Oilers' 1-0 win over the LA Kings. Let's get Nanso on here for some final thoughts as we wind things down on the GCL Diesel Oil Stream post-game show. Nancito, what do you want to say going into Wednesday's game, Oilers and Wild?
Yeah, intrigued to see the lineups, see who gets a start. I would probably go Pickard. I think he was in net the last time they won. I could be mistaken because I know they were going with Skinner in that first game that they lost. So yeah, just intrigued with the lineups, and then see if they go back to 12-6, and maybe you roll with Skinner because he's coming off a shutout, and then give Pickard the Colorado game. So just intrigued by that, but should be it's going to be a fun 3 games left this week. It's a busy time for us, but look forward to the games.
It's going to be a lot of fun, like you said. 6:30 puck drop on Wednesday. We're on the air at 5:30. GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show. Thursday, it will be Boston Pizza Westgate. We're going to be live on location again. We had a great time on Saturday. Tony from BP says, I'm telling you that it's a telling sign that Bush didn't play the last 6 minutes and Emerson was with Eck. We agree with you, Tony. We agree with you. He'll be dishing out the prizes on Thursday. Sometimes he's got jerseys. Sometimes he's got jackets. Sometimes he's got hoodies. Always a bunch of hats, GCs, T-shirts. It'll be a lot of fun. Boston Pizza Westgate on Thursday night for the pre- and post-game show. And then Saturday, we will be at the Oilers Alumni Bonspiel at the Shamrock Curling Club. That's going to be a ton of fun as well. My team is the defending champions. I did not provide much in terms of support on the pebbled ice, but look forward to being back on location for the alumni Bonspiel, and we'll have a great time. Gavin and Angela at the Shamrock, fantastic hosts. That's why we're going back there for the Fun Spiel in February, which is sold out. So absolutely tremendous. That'll do it for the GCL Diesel Oil Stream post-game show. The Oilers 1-0 winners over the Kings. A huge sigh of relief for those who are worried about the Kings. 2 more meetings between these 2 teams in April. You know those are going to be great games. All right, for Reed Wilkins and Matt Cassian and Hernan Salas, I'm Tom Gazzola saying thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Hit that thumbs up button. I think we hit 100 on the post-game show. Fantastic. See you tomorrow. Ciao for now.